Hi, welcome to this video on the Zen War channel. Today we're going to talk about the different levels of commitment to a deity. Okay, now we've talked about how we're all devas, right? You're all devas, right? Beings of God, beings that take in the light of God, right? In a downward cycle, right? At the levels of energy lokas, okay? And basically who have those 4 cycles of life which lead you to paradise if you're a good deva, a good being of God, right? And if you get corrupted and you start becoming a system that drains from other systems, an evil system, in that sense, you become an asura in that regards as well, right? So, it's not because you're an asura or you've done some asuric things that you can't go back to being a being of light again. I guess maybe you keep that title of being a being that has some darkness within them, but a being of light once again. And I think that all beings can come back to the light, right? I think that that's actually a good goal for everyone, right? So on that note, this video is going to be to talk about the different levels of commitment to a deity. Okay, I've been planning on making this video for a while. Okay, and it's a video it's important to understand these different levels of commitment, right? And to understand how this works within the concept of a properly built temple as well. Okay, so this video specifically dedicated to the cultures that believe in having a connection to another deity. Okay, so another deva, if you want to see it that way, a deva that became enlightened, right? That exists at the vibrationary field of enlightenment, right? A being that is a god, a deity, okay? And in Hinduism, there are many deities, and in other cultures and traditions and faiths, religions as well, okay? A being that became enlightened, right? So became a god, right? So a deva that became enlightened and empowered as a god, okay? In that sense, essentially. So basically a deva that grew, right, to the level of a god, right, by growing on with the energy of God, so with grace of the divine, right, became enlightened in all the different steps of growth of a being that became either, became a Buddha, became a Shri, became an enlightened master, became an enlightened saint, and then there's beings of other planets as well that are getting enlightened as well, and they meet the other enlightened beings at the vibrationary field of enlightenment as the enlightenment of other beings. For example, a humanoid being that looks like a bull, for example, they have their own civilization culture on their planet. Well, one of them became enlightened recently, and a simple one to the vibrationary field of enlightenment. So enlightenment is a process for all sentient, intelligent beings, and basically is the process that leads to the growth of creation, right? So you see that humans, when we meet other beings of other species, we're actually very connected to them. We're one with them as well, and we need to see them as one and friends as well, because, and hopefully they see things the same way when they get this knowledge, because they're getting enlightened, we're getting enlightened, we're all the same stuff, we're all the same structure, we're all the same creation, we're all basically different systems within the program and the life that we're experiencing within that program, within the Kala Chakra and the computer within which it exists in that computer program. So they are different types of systems, and we are one type of system, and different types of systems are actually all working together as systems within the greater computer and program in which we exist. So systems shouldn't be fighting each other, shouldn't be having friction with each other. They should be working effectively as unified systems, and as more and more systems work in a unified manner with less and less friction, that's basically directly reflected by a better life for everybody, and that should be our goal, to have everybody to have a better life, and that can be many different things, but what it breaks down to is peace, prosperity, freedoms, rights, happiness, joy, all the best things of life, treating everyone, your neighbor, like you'd want to be treated yourself, and allowing love and joy to fill your heart, and knowledge as well of God, right? that accompanies all your decisions in your life to lead a good life, a life you'll be proud of, and that story you'll be so proud of that, just all those moments of happiness and kindness and love that you shared with people in your life, those stories, those good stories will get you through that judgment of God to move on to paradise and heaven, where you can live there, and have eternal life and grow forever as a being, and keep working on the systems that you work on, right? Because you, as a system, right, within the computer in which we exist, have a function within that system, and you basically grow and develop in the efficiency of that function that you represent, and that you do, essentially, that and the work that you work on, basically based on the priorities that you are given. So what functions you are given access to, basically, to handle and to administer, and everybody's administering someone else. So when you go to a deity, to get back to commitment to a deity, you're basically, as a function of a computer, you're going to another function that's enlightened and very, very developed and powerful, within that computer, and you're essentially going to help, for assistance, right? So you're going to an elder, in a way, is a way of seeing it. An elder, an elder of the tribe that we all belong to, the tribe of the systems of our computer. You go to a developed elder that has lots of knowledge and power, and you go for advice, you go for help, right? So that's why you go to see a deity. So many cultures and faith and traditions, they believe sometimes just in going to God, right? Not idols or deities or any of those things. And I understand that, because you're going directly to God, right? But sometimes it's good to go to an elder too, for guidance, a little bit like going to a guru in that sense as well, or to a teacher, for assistance. You're looking for assistance in life, in your processes, in your maybe in your spiritual journey, in your growth. Basically, it's all about growth in life, right? You're looking for assistance in growth, so you go to an elder, another deva that's enlightened, that became enlightened, that's seen as a deity, possibly even worshipped by many people, because that deity helps people. So what do you do out of love for the help that deity gives you? You give them light, you give them your energy, you give them worship, so that they can help others and continue helping you. And it's a circle of life, give, not just take, give, so that's why other cultures, they do believe in idols and basically murtis, statues or pictures, and you can connect to the deity through that, right? Using that technology, right, of making a portal to the energy of that deity, right? It's not the deity itself, when you look at a murti, that's not really the deity itself. It's connected to the deity, and sometimes the deity could technically teleport to that murti and actually be present in it, but they don't like to do that because they can get trapped and all these different things, different technologies. So it's usually just they let you connect to their energy. So you basically can create that connection with a form that connects to it's a form of that elder, if you want to see it that way, that enlightened deity, right, that deva, and then you can basically get assistance from them. So there are different levels of commitment, okay, to another system. Okay, look at the deity as another system that has different functions, but that's way more developed as a system than you are. So you can go to assistance to them for help with different things. Okay, the first level of commitment. A properly built temple is built a little bit like a court, okay, because that's a little bit how it works. There's a hierarchy of systems. And basically the most developed and powerful systems are basically the ones that administer all the other different systems. So basically, and then they administer others, everybody has their kingdom that they administer, essentially. Okay, look at it a little bit like a fountain. The energy is coming from the center and it's going out like that, right? Like a fountain coming out. Everybody's administrating from their place. Okay, so as a deity, you administer. Okay, and why do you go to, for example, pray to a deity, talk to a deity, commit to a deity, go to a temple, all these different things? One of the reasons to connect to the deity, okay, to connect to that deity so that you can transform, okay, to help your transformation. So that's why temples are often known as zones of transformation, or also called kshetrams, okay? And they're built in that way. So you connect to a specific energy, right? You connect to a specific function, right, of the system that's more developed, that you acknowledge, right, is more developed, is more powerful, and then you go for assistance. So the first level in a properly well-made temple is built a little bit like a court, you know, and you basically, what you do is you have all the deities that are in the temple. So what you want to do first, if you're going to do it in a traditional way, and like in Zenwara way, of communicating and committing to a different function, and especially when you go to those higher functions, you know, those deities, you know, the main gods, as they're known, okay, the ones that basically are at the top, okay. And what you want to do is very simple, okay. You know that they're very busy, you want them to get you want to get their attention, all these different things. So you want to be very humble, okay. You want to, okay, dress on your best behavior, be on your best behavior, dress well, be respectful always when you go talk to the deities. But remember that all the other functions are very important as well, and all the other functions are watching what different connections are made between functions, okay. Because maybe that deity is a connection, is a function that you already fall under, but maybe you fall under another function, essentially, in the governance chain of functions within the system and priorities. So let's say you decide that you're going to go commit to a deity, okay. We're not going to go into all the details of the different reasons and all that. We'll just talk about a way to do it, okay. You go into the temple, okay, starting in a clockwise order, okay. You start moving from one deity to the next and paying your respects to each deity, okay. That's in the temple. We're talking about specifically the example of a Hindu temple right now, okay. But remember that this concept can apply to anyone who of any faith or tradition or culture, and once again, some religions, you know, you go directly to God, and that's fine, you know, that's great. But you can also go to elders, you know, so it's different perspectives, you know. How do you want to do it? Are you ready to go talk directly to God, or are you maybe just starting, and maybe some help would help, you know. And maybe you realize that, you know, God has his functions as well, and maybe that's not necessarily the function that you're looking to make a connection with right now, or to change your future, and to basically associate yourself to specific governance of different functions within the system. So you go to first level of commitment. The first level of commitment is the introduction to the deity, okay, the introduction to the function. So basically what you want to do here is you go to the temple and you circle all the deities 3 times. On the 3rd time, you go to, and you basically, you know, you go to namaskar and you talk to the deity when you're in front of the deity, okay, and you imagine sending your thoughts to the deity. And if you're capable at higher levels of yoga, you can actually listen to the deity talking to you back, okay. But first, imagine talking to the deity, sending those prayers, those thoughts, talking to the deity, actually having that conversation with the deity in front of the deity. The deity, you know, in higher levels of yoga, you see the murti vibrating, you see the murti, the vibration, the deity there present, their vibration, their presence listening to you, okay, because they can see through the murti. They see you, they actually see you in reverse, like a mirror, but they see you and they can listen to you and what you ask them, okay. And the reason they can listen when you talk without words too, okay, is because when you direct your thoughts to a deity, the deities are enlightened deities, okay? They're empowered by God, so they're allowed to use the tunnels, the systems of God that listen to people's prayers silently. So they're allowed to use those systems when they're used to communicate with them, because they work with God in his higher functions. All the enlightened ones work together. It's just some of them are more young and inexperienced and need more work, more development, okay, to be more effective. So you go, you turn around all the deities at the temple 3 times. On the 3rd time, you get to the deity you want to commit to, okay, when you get to their place on the 3rd run around the temple, okay, then you stop in front of that deity and you tell the deity, okay, and you can say this aloud if you feel better, or you can say it silently. You tell the deity, hello, you name the deity and you say, I introduce myself, and you can say your name. I introduce myself to you, and um, I would like to connect with you. Okay. And then you can basically also say what you are looking to gain from this connection. Okay. And basically you say that you also will remember the deity, right? And that you will do practice to maintain that connection with the deity. Okay. And then basically you thank the deity and you move on. And then you continue that turn, that third turn. Don't forget the other deities, that if there's others that continue. And then that's your introduction to the deity. Okay? At that point, you can keep coming back to the temple different times, keep being in the presence of the deity, meditate in the temple, do your practice. But now what you've done is you've introduced yourself to a deity, and you've selected a specific deity and introduced yourself to them. Okay, you can introduce yourself to different deities at the same time. However, what happens is you're looking essentially to put yourself, to connect yourself to a higher function, and to have them take you under their wing and govern you in a sense, right? To help your elevation with that function. So you're looking for assistance. So ideally, you want to be thinking, if you're going to introduce yourself, it's with the plan of seeing if it works well with that function in your practice. And if things start going well and it's appropriate, now comes the second stage, commitment. Commitment to the deity. For the commitment, you go to the temple, okay? Same thing. Now you're going to circle and you talk to all the other deities. You have to be respectful to all the main functions, all the main deities, because they're all witnessing that you're talking and committing to this deity. Okay, and that first you introduced yourself and all that. Okay, basically they're seeing that your function as a system is looking to go underneath this function and to be governed by this function. Okay, is looking to be given priorities according to that function. Looking to be color-coded to that function, to that deity. Next is the commitment. For the commitment, you circle 4 times. So it takes some time at the temple. It's a serious thing. You're going to go see all the deities 4 times. And when you get to the 4th time and you get to the deity that you introduced yourself first to, and now you get to the commitment, and then once again, out loud or silently, now you commit to the deity. You say, thank you for bringing me to this place at this path. Hello, it's me again. And you can rename yourself, but you've already introduced yourself, so you don't need to name yourself anymore. And at this point, you say, I have decided that I would like to commit myself to you, right? And to put myself under your protection and your guidance, and to also offer what I can to you in thanks, and to basically follow your direction. That's the big one. Follow your direction. So you're looking at a serious step commitment. You're looking at now, you're dedicating yourself to the mission of that deity, to the purpose of that deity. You're putting essentially your governance of your functions that you represent within this computer program in which we exist under the direction of that elder or higher function. Right? And that could mean that you're moving over from the function that you were currently under. Maybe, your function fell under another deity, but now you're moving under to another deity. And it could be, in most cases, that you're actually committing to the deity that you already fell under. And you're just being aware, you're becoming aware of this, and you're manifesting that commitment of your life to that higher function that governs you, such as a Buddha or a Shri, someone above you, okay? And you can basically commit, and you will keep developing, and one day, you may attain high levels like that, right, as well, and basically have people coming to commit to you, and to introduce themselves to you, right, as basically it's a chain of governance. within the system, a chain of priorities and instructions within the system and the computer in which we exist and its operating functionality and its programming. So that's the second stage, a commitment. Okay, and then you commit yourself to the deity, and that's the commitment. Okay, now at that point, that becomes your deity. That becomes your family deity. It becomes your deity, the one that helps you, the one that you go to, the one that you have committed to. It becomes your deity, basically. Look at a way in this way. Hopefully your friend and your boss in a way, a little bit that way too, as far as priorities go. But the one that showed you through those steps that led before your commitment to show you that they have your best intentions in heart. So basically, it becomes a little bit like a guru disciple relationship. Okay, but also where it's also that your boss, where now you are basically follow the instructions of that deity's path for you. So that deity is you're committed. If you get basically instructions through your practice from that deity, you're doing it. You've committed to that deity, and you basically trust in that deity to guide your growth. But you retain your independence. You're still an independent person, but you're committed. You basically put your systems under the governance of that deity and trust it to invest in your education as well. Okay, and to invest in your development, right? In your professional development as a system, as a function that falls under the deity. Okay, so that's to help your sadhana, right? So that's one way. That's the Zenora way of doing the second level of commitment to a deity. Okay, so you can commit to any deity you wish to do, and basically what you're saying is you're committing to obeying their instructions, okay, and following their guidance, okay, and you're opening yourself to them and to their vibration, basically modifying yours when they deem that yours needs to be modified. Okay. So you're committing to them. You're opening yourself up to them, basically saying, "Yeah, you're my boss." And maybe you have love for your boss, and maybe you have devotion to your boss, and maybe you have friendship towards your boss, because it's more than a boss; it's a friend. Okay. Because like an elder, right? You respect your elder. You might even love the elder. Maybe it's a great elder, a great person, a great being, great deity. Okay. Now you have the third level of commitment. Okay, and basically these are the main phases of commitment. There's many different things that happen in between, experiences that happen between personal commitments every day, and all the different things that you do. But these are the main commitments. Okay, the main recognized moments that all the other deities are watching. You've just gone under the direction of a new system. Or maybe the same one, you confirmed your direction to the new system, to the same system. Maybe you didn't go to a new deity. Maybe you're in a different religion, a different culture, and you're going to a specific form of God, or you're basically going to a specific or to God in the formless. But those are your levels, basically your introduction, your commitment to God, or to the deity, or to whichever one you're approaching. Because there is a God, and there are deities, devas, that have become enlightened and developed and basically attain levels as Shris, Buddhas, enlightened ones, all these things. And then you have the third level of commitment. The third level of commitment is the most serious. Okay? That's maybe not the best way to say it. They're all very serious, in my opinion, and all very beautiful and important moments in someone's life. So the deity really lets you have that beautiful moment, you know, dedicating yourself, right? That commitment is a dedication, right? And then you have the third phase. The third step, so you have the introduction, so and then you have the third phase, which is the wedding, the marriage to the deity, the marriage to the deity. And the third phase you cannot initiate by yourself. Okay? The first two phases, the introduction to the deity and the commitment to the deity, you can initiate by yourself. Okay? And the third phase requires the deity to also initiate. Okay? So the third phase, the deity requires to initiate, not you. The wedding, the marriage to the deity. And what is the marriage to the deity? The marriage to the deity becomes an equal relationship between their functions and your functions. So basically, a marriage is basically the functions come together in their operating functionality. Okay? And if you're at that level of the third commitment, at that point, you know, I think you're going to be experiencing it, the uniqueness of that, and what that means. And we can talk about that in person if you come to talk to me about that. Okay? One thing to take in consideration is that there's the wedding between the deity and the individual, the deva that goes to see the deity. And that wedding is truly a wondrous event that's very shaking at the level of creation itself, you know, because why is a higher system or deity, right, deciding to wed your system, right, essentially to merge those functions, right, under a combined directorship, right, or leadership. So a wedding is very rare. Okay, a wedding is very rare, and a wedding is not also permanent, which is interesting, right? A wedding can take place, and a wedding is not necessarily permanent. So there are different types of wedding. There's, for example, the wedding of Durga with her Shiva every Mahashivaratri. So every Mahashivaratri, Durga at the court, right, at the temple, will basically communicate a wedding offer to the individual who represents her love, her Shiva, on the night of Mahashivaratri. And that's actually a different individual, different times. But when you have an avatar of Shiva that's in the story, the avatar of Shiva, then at that time that individual becomes the wedding, and the wedding becomes permanent, right? It's a wedding that takes place every Mahashivaratri, but is permanent. So it doesn't stop after a few days. Because if it's a regular wedding of a Mahashivaratri, after a few days, Durga gets tired of her lover because he's not the real Shiva, you know, and then that wedding annuls, right? Which has difficult consequences on the life of the individual who married Durga for that Mahashivaratri, right? So there's different weddings that happen, right? And then you have different levels of weddings. You have a wedding in that sense, okay? Basically a connection of the functions, okay? And then you have a connection of the names, which can take place as well, okay? And now what we're talking here is a wedding not only of the functions, but a wedding of the being, okay? A combining of the being, okay, the individual being and all the individualities of that being. So that's basically another level of wedding that's even more that's even more changing in that sense as well. Okay, a wedding at the level of the name. Okay, so there's many different types of commitments and relationships that you can have to deities, but these are your three main phases. okay? The three main phases of commitment, which represent the phases of development of your practice as well, as you incorporate the practice of guidance of a deity and help from a deity and connecting to a deity, and basically understanding that they are more advanced, more developed, and that by connecting to them and allowing them to assist you, right, and assisting them in any way that they require by essentially putting yourself under their guidance and their direction and of their plan, right, at that point, that will help you very much advance spiritually, right? So who do you want to go connect to? What deity? You can introduce yourself to a couple of deities over time, but once you've committed yourself to a deity, at that point you are committed, so you should basically maintain that commitment to that deity. Now, can you be committed to more than one deity? That's an interesting question, and maybe we'll talk about it more another day. The truth is that, when it comes to a commitment that you've done to a deity and you've done it in that way, in the official way, by turning that number of times around, okay? That's how it is. Now, how many times do you turn around on a wedding, right? How many times do you go around all the deities? The introduction is 3 times, right? We know that the commitment is 4 times. The wedding is 5 times. Okay, so you go 5 times around at a wedding. So wedding is quite a momentous affair, and it takes quite a bit of time because you're talking to all the deities and discussing all these things with them. And by the time you get to a wedding, you can communicate with deities. So you're able to use that telepathy that you've developed through your practice as a very advanced being now in your own right? Those cities of telepathy, and you can have conversation with the deities at that point. So a wedding, it takes time and a very complex process and all this, if it's done really properly in that way. Okay, so by the time you get to a wedding, understand that if you're wedding a deity, it's because you're at the same level as them. Okay, they're not going to wed a being that's not at the same level as them. So by the time you're wedding a deity, you're also a deity, right? Except for the wedding of Durga and Shiva with her lover at Mahashivaratri, where she takes the most appropriate candidate for the year, right? But the real wedding is she weds the deity, her husband, the god Shiva. Okay, so when you get to a wedding, it's because you're already at those very high levels. You're already, you're at the level now where you're wedding a deity because your functions are basically operating at a level where you're wedding those functions, at an equal relationship, an equal level. When you get the commitment, that's a very, very beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That's once again, that's the step that you can initiate past the introduction to the deity and practicing. Really that commitment where now you commit to them, right? So can you commit to more than one deity? With the understanding that that commitment means that you will take direction from that deity in your life. Well, technically, if you're getting, you can't have conflicting direction, right? So in that way, many people say, you want to follow one path, right? As you pursue your practice, one path is the way to practice. But at the same time, you want to have an understanding of all the other paths, but you want to stay committed to your path, because all the right paths will lead you to your result. And if you've gotten to the point where you've committed to a deity in that way and you've known that that was your time to commit, then you're already on that right path, right? So you maintain your path on the right path for you, right? And your path will bring you to many different places, and you will experience many other different paths, but you'll have that commitment to that path and the commitment to that deity that gives you that direction to those functions that you put yourself under, and with the trust that they will lead you to a better place, right? Okay, so those are your phases of commitment to a deity. You have the introduction, the commitment, and the marriage, the wedding. Okay, I hope this video was very interesting for you. If you like this video, please do comment, like, subscribe, and share. And I wish you a great day.